Ryan, you're on episode number 32.
Awesome.
Does that
Wow.
does that number mean anything to you?
Um, that's about the time in my life when I started realizing I needed to have a lot of change. I'm 42 now,
Uh-huh.
um, and my mid 30s was filled with radical ownership, just realizing I was the only one in my own way, waking up, getting rid of the blame and like, how am I part of my own problem? And what do I really want to do with my life? Um, yeah, it's a pretty significant time. I still have lessons to learn, still have more lessons to learn, but that's what was going on for me at 32.
I'm 32 right now, and I'm in the same exact space as what you're mentioning, which is kind of wild.
It is wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love.
I posted a before and after picture today of 6 months ago to now,
Mm.
and it's I my mind is blown what, exercise and health can really do for you. So, thank you for coming on today. Uh, I'm going to have you kind of introduce yourself a little bit. We're going to talk about some different health topics and really dive in. But before we do, I would just kind of like to have the viewers listen to your story. So why don't you kind of tell us about what you do and kind of where it came from and what your mission is?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So I'm Ryan Encinas, an advanced practice nurse. I started in cancer research at MD Anderson. It's like the world's leading cancer research hospital, and worked in surgery. So I was collaborating care with all kinds of different surgeons across every specialty, and had a long career in surgery for almost 20 years. Surgical assist, so I had my hands in there. And the whole time, grew up semi-pro athlete, always very curious about how the world works. I was the only child raised by a single mother and my grandparents who taught me how to think, never told me I was wrong about anything, just asked me why I thought what I thought. And basically had to become a huge empath because I was around a lot of partying adults. My mom was young and I was always safe, but I didn't know that. So I had to learn how to feel into people's energies to see if I was safe, if their words matched their intention or their energy. So in this career of medicine, I was always studying nutrition because I wanted a competitive edge in my semi-pro sports and just being an athlete, and really understanding nutrition. That's the foundational part. And I ended up going back to school for biochem, genetics, and nutrition, and even a little bit of quantum biology, because the farther you go down the rabbit hole, you just realize that nutrition is not taught in medicine, and I wanted more answers. I wanted to be preventative. That's why I got into the healthcare system, to help people. I literally have a deep passion for helping others. Really, I just wanted to help myself, and understanding that the more I helped myself, the larger my capacity to help others. And then realizing that it's foundational with nutrition, where we talk about metabolic disease, and all metabolic disease is how every cell works. And I was so frustrated that no one could tell me, and no one could tell me what an antioxidant was. That's what really started it, because that word's tossed around all over the place. Eat blueberries, it's got your antioxidants, you really need them.
Yeah.
But no one could tell me what it was or what it did, or that there's hundreds of different types and they all do different things. So that's now I teach physicians, I teach health professionals internationally and nationally how to utilize the world's only diagnostic tool that measures nutrient absorption inside your cells, because standard lab work is not really measuring nutrition. It's measuring inflammatory markers, organ stress, and signs of infection. But all those parameters are out of whack because of only two things, and only two things, period: chronic nutrient deficiency and toxin exposure. So now we have a high-end lab test that uses lasers to look inside your cells, say, are you actually absorbing, getting enough of what makes our cells function? So I teach health professionals how to do that full time. Been doing this for a couple years, and also teach them how to use clinically validated nutritional protocols that are listed in the physician's desk reference, have been there for over 30 years, to correct these nutritional deficiencies that are driving disease. So that's a little bit about who I am, why I am, where I came from. Um, and it all ties together with your mindset, your belief system. Nutrition is just one way to get people there to harmonize and be able to manage stress, whether we're chronic inflammatory stress from at the cell level, or the mental emotional stress of just being in this world and being a part of this society.
Yeah, what's funny, and I was just having this conversation with a friend when you talk about the mental health aspect of a good diet, nutrients is throughout the 90s when I was a kid, the pyramid was 9 to 12 grain types of grain a day with enriched flour and folic acid, which affects behavior so much and affects attention span so much. The one of the questions I have for you, just from you telling your story, is so I'm not going to name the company, but my mother was going through some health stuff last year, and we were looking for different remedies, and we did a methylated um, genetic test. And when we signed up for the methylated genetic test, the company then called us to do like a blood work test for like another $500, right? So we spent $1,000 total, 500 on the methylated genetic test, another 500 on the blood test. And so I was thinking to myself when I'm first kind of diving into this pool was, okay, we're going to find, as you mentioned, the markers on the test that are insufficient, and then the way this company sells it, we'll sell your methylated vitamins to then supplement your deficiencies, and then you're going to be good to go. But the conflict of interest that I'm thinking about now looking back at it is one, well, you're the company that also sells the vitamins.
Hmm.
So I understand the business idea of it, and maximizing your money, but it doesn't really feel too genuine. And to be completely honest, it wasn't very helpful. And when we were assigned a representative that would kind of guide my mother through the process, he didn't know much more than we did. So when you're talking about this late, basically, like, I'm going to simplify it, an x-ray to see the cells, to see if the cells are absorbing the appropriate nutrients. What kind of tool is that?
It's physics, and it's Nobel Prize winning physics from the 1930s. It's called Raman spectroscopy. Anyone who's in research in chemistry or biochemical industries, they're going to have a really fundamental understanding of this technology. If you've ever been to the hospital and put a little red light on your finger that measures oxygen in real time, that is the exact same Nobel Prize winning physics from 1930. Old tech, and back when the Nobel Prize meant something instead of all the paywall stuff now, but it's used to measure down to the molecule in labs. This is how we have precise research. It's not widely available to the public, and that's the issue. So the NIH actually developed this laser, this Raman spectroscopy device, but they were not doing anything with it. And at first, it was for macular degeneration, and then studies for cancer, and then all metabolic issues because it stems from nutrient deficiency. And that's the problem is everyone's just kind of guessing. We don't have accurate measurement yet, but this has been around for 25 years. We've tested 26 million people and 95% are starving at the cell level. That is metabolic disease by definition. We just name it something different wherever it shows up in the body. Now, when you're talking about the validation of a supplement, it's a very important thing that there's so much misinformation, so much marketing and influencing and agitation marketing, fear marketing, when show me the studies on your product. Is your product clinically validated? Is it listed in the physician's desk reference? There's only a handful of products that are actually there. It's a $65 billion industry that is blowing up 25% growth every single year. If all these supplements really worked, then we wouldn't be the sickest country in the world. People are just wanting your money and they're quoting science, not performing the science. So our company was founded by ex big pharma researching scientists. Like one of them was the deputy director of Merck, which is the second largest drug manufacturer in the world. These three scientists 40 years ago left big pharma because they created drugs like statins, like Rapamune, immunosuppressant therapies for organ transplant and rheumatoid arthritis, and birth control. That's Michael Chang, Joe Chang, and Carl deGrassi, top world genius researchers, PhD biochemists. Now, those drugs, we don't like them, right? Statins, they do more harm than good. And that's why he left, because he saw what Big Pharma did with his invention that came from fermented red yeast. And he said, F this, I'm out. I want to deliver fermented red yeast to the public. When he did, he marketed it that we can fix your cardiac vessels without all the side effects. Then the federal government sued him. He actually won because he was a scientist that created them, but then Big Pharma lobbied and they lost on an appeal. Instead, he doubled down and said, I'm going to gather my homies, these other scientists who are always talking about the nutritional research that we're doing in big pharma, but big pharma can't patent a supplement, can't patent a natural thing. That's why everything's designed to have side effects and a patent. It's just a whole money thing. And the supplement industry is no different. So when you can actually show me human clinical studies on your product and it's physician desk reference listed, you have all the validation. There's only a handful of companies that can even claim that, and only one company that has 70 full-time scientists. They're not owned by pharma. They don't answer to shareholders. They answer to their scientist first. So that's a big difference. And I'm glad you said methylation because that's a huge, huge topic. And it's really clever, tricky marketing. MTFHR is everywhere. Oh my God, I can't take methylated B12. I have MTFHR. There's so much science here that it's hard for the average person to understand. So we all fall victim to whoever's speaking the most passionately about something. It's a lack of authenticity in our world. So when it comes to methylation, I myself have methylation issues. I have some MTFHR mutations, which I want your listeners to understand. You can't just say you have MTFHR or you don't have it. It's
Can you
about how,
clarify what, say it one more time, MTFHR?
yes, it's a
Okay.
methylation. It's a one of the few dozen genetic pathways that we understand.
Okay.
So we don't understand a lot about genetics. And we do. I mean, our company owns a genetic company and screens for nutritional compounds that upregulate and downregulate genes, and we verify it through gene heat mapping. It's one of the most precise things we can actually see if a gene's being turned on or off by nutrition, by the way. So MTFHR is one pathway we understand, but we do not understand how that pathway interacts with other pathways like histamine or sulfur or nitrous oxide. And on that pathway, any of those pathways, there's multiple genes in that MTFHR methylation pathway. You can have multiple mutations on each gene. You can have multiple mutations on different areas. So it's how many mutations you have and where they're at. We have to use AI and machine learning to help even geneticists understand that. So now you have a whole supplement industry that's marketing this push for, oh, everyone needs methylated. But here's the problem with methylated. Not all methylation is the same. When you're talking about folic acid, very important.
Mhm.
But B12, not at all. It's marketed as methylated B12. And they said this is the kind that your body uses. That's clever marketing. The body does use methylated B12, but even when you take a methylated B12 vitamin, your body still has to cleave off that synthetic methyl group and attach its own methyl group.
Which is
So what
technically cyanide, right? Is when they make like a synthetic B12.
similar. There's
Okay.
cyanide in apples. You have
Okay.
more when you eat an apple, you're getting more cyanide than you are with synthetic B12.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
So clever marketing.
Yeah,
And,
there's the marketing right there, right?
and methyl means it goes right into the cell. But here's the thing about methylated B12. Not a single form of methylated B12 is shelf stable up to pharmaceutical grades. That's why there's not a single physician desk reference or clinically validated B12 that's shelf stable. Remember, it's a fraudulent market. You can make all the claims you want, but when you have your own lab and you test everyone else's products, none of them meet their label claims. Zero.
And you're talking the marketing, not like the big pharma
The
product or both
for supplements.
for supplements. Gotcha. Gotcha.
So certain things you want methylated. B12 isn't really one of them. What people are missing is a methylation cofactor called lithium orotate. It's super cheap. It's not the lithium that's prescribed. It's a different form that's not patented because it's natural and it's completely safe up to 100 milligrams. I've never seen a client or a patient take over 30 milligrams. I take 10 milligrams a day. It helps with your mood, your immune system, and that methylation for the cyanocobalamin, which I take and I recommend for everyone because it's poisons in the dose. Most people, think more is better and they OD it, but they're also have the fundamental misunderstanding of all the other cofactors, other nutrients, micronutrients that are involved with helping your body absorb it. Lithium orotate is a huge one that helps you absorb synthetic B12. And so folic acid, different. You want that to be synthetic. I mean, not synthetic. You want that to be methylated because there's a shelf stable form about it.
Gotcha.
So there's just a lot of misinformation out there about things like this when really it's like, are we measuring to see if your body's getting enough of what it needs? Are we not fear mongering the, agitation? This form's bad, buy ours, it doesn't have that form. Well, that's all everyone's falling for instead of diving into the science. And I'm not the genius. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, of many, many other researchers and their combined efforts to deliver clinical grade nutrition to fix cell dysfunction.
How does a person go about obtaining lithium? Is it ortate or
Yeah, yeah, Ortate. There's plenty of people who make it. My favorite is MitoLife. It's my MitoLife.co.
Mhm.
It's incredibly cheap. I mean, like a quarter of the year supply is going to be like 25 bucks.
Wow.
And completely safe to take, you know, I have some clients that take 30 milligrams that have severe MTHFR mutations, and it drastically improves their mood and their life. But that way they can still take low therapeutic effective doses of cyanocobalamin, not the methylated. They're not wasting their money on this methyl form that's not even giving them a fraction of what's on the label for that product.
About cyanocobalamin, I've just because I've read so much about it, through influencers online, and it's put into energy drinks, and there's stories online about how it's harvested, a lot of the companies. And I'm just going to tell the story and you tell me how off this is, or maybe how much this makes sense. And you've probably even heard this before.
Mm.
You essentially, there's a yellow ooze at the human waste treatment plant that companies, and I don't know the companies, but they'll take the ooze and then they will synthesize that human waste to extract the vitamin B12, the cyanocobalamin, and that's what they're putting into like an energy drink or into a supplement. Is there any legitimacy to that?
It again, clever marketing.
Yeah, right. It worked
So
on me.
yeah, I mean, when you're talking about an energy drink, number one, the cyanocobalamin is probably the least of the worries in there.
Okay.
You're talking about the sugar, the stimulants, all those kind of things, and they're giving you way more cyanocobalamin B12 than anyone needs because it does have an energizing effect. But the people that have methylation issues, or they're already getting it from somewhere else, taking too much because everyone is just a gem bro or a self biohacker, and they're trying to figure it out, but it's really hard to find this information because it's not on the first, second, or third page of Google. It's buried in page 8 and 10. And unless you're talking to a biochemist instead of a functional doc or any doc who's recommending something, they're not the biochemist. That's the thing is they understand cell function and disease mechanisms. They do not understand what it takes to manufacture a product that is shelf stable and is clinically validated to work inside your human cells. Like that, it's a very, very big difference. And that's why you see a lot of biochemists that end up going to work for pharma because it's really hard for them to make a living. But you go to teach a doc how to prescribe a couple things on full script, and number one, if a doc is still prescribing a ton of medications, they're like, here's supplements, but yeah, you need to take these medications too. They don't have an understanding of biochem and biology and cell function
Yeah.
from a nutritional standpoint. They have a very good understanding from a pharmaceutical standpoint.
Yeah, it seems like that's what's pushed in that industry. And it I've heard Joe Rogan say this before. When you look at a doctor that is like, 100 pounds overweight and
Yeah,
is clearly unhealthy and then tries to tell you how to be healthy and gives you some pills, that it's just so asinine. Have
great.
you ever dug into decentralized medicine? I don't know if you've heard this name before, but Jack Cruz talks a lot about it. He actually showed up at a crypto conference to talk about the idea of a decentralized medical pharmaceutical vision. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, decentralized is difficult. I mean, it's good, but it's hard to initiate. So it's not a quick fix. Um, you got to think about this with crypto, Bitcoin, anything that's decentralized. You think the powers that be, the World Bank, all this stuff, that they don't have their hands already in it. that they're not buying more of it because there is a huge push at some point in our lifetime to switch over to digital currency, digital IDs, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So there's a fundamental flaw in that whole line of thinking. What really comes down to when I think of decentralized is creating community centers where you have education and access to health information, tax information, regenerative farming information, even if you just want to grow herbs or a vegetable garden, because in water, that's where things are decentralized, is in the community.
Sure.
And how do we build community? Or how do I change nutrition and healthcare? That's starting to happen at the state level. Texas just passed a law saying that all licensed medical professionals, nurses, and doctors have to have nutritional training. Now, it's going to take decades to catch up, and it's a step in the right direction, but I don't wait for government to tell me to do anything. I mean, when I teach clinical providers, doctors, chiropractors, health coaches, how to use a device that already fits into the medical model, which is measure, prescribe, remeasure to see improvement. We're doing the exact same thing, but with nutrition. We can actually show you that you're absorbing more of the nutrients that your body needs. And there's all the studies, Yale 10-year cancer study, Stanford, Harvard, Texas Tech, all those things, all independent studies. So that's how we decentralize
Sure.
is we put the power back into the provider and not have to deal with crooked ass insurance reimbursements because that's part of the central problem. That's tied into the whole banking and finance and why there's a 300 to 900% markup on anything medical, even though it's no different. I remember when I was director of private surgical hospital and just needed a monitor for one of my operating rooms, it was 10 times the price of a normal monitor just because it was medical grade and there's nothing different about a computer monitor. Nothing, not a single thing.
Right.
And so that's the Trojan horse is this system and it has all the clinical validation
Yeah.
because we can't just tear down the whole system. As much as we'd want to, there'd just be chaos and too much war and famine and craziness. So how do we slowly change it? It's conversations like this, having one conversation at a time, one provider at a time, one influencer or one coach at a time. When we can get past people's egos, start educating them on cofactors of methylation, start educating them on nutrient absorption testing and diagnostics that are physics based. We're talking about quantum. Physics is the math of how matter moves. It doesn't lie. You can't skew a physics test directly applied to the skin and tissue. That's a huge difference. And this is where we're changing the world is, this device is expensive. There's only 5,000 in the world. In the very near future, there'll be a small in-home pocket-sized device that will have so many future applications with 25 additional patents, 25 additional nutritional biomarkers inside the cell. You're having your private lab in your home. Before you run out to the doctor because something's wrong, get your nutrition right first, and then most of the things harmonize in your body and symptoms start to improve. That's my decentralization. So I like the term. I think it's misused and overemphasized a lot though, because people are only looking at a few aspects of it.
And when you break it down like that, it simplifies it because the term is so general.
Yeah,
With this tool that is going to be accessible to the public, this and it's going to fit in their pocket, is
yeah.
there going to be some sort of in-home doctor or guide that's paired with that to maybe help the average person understand what what that machine is telling them? Like one thing that I kind of see going forward here as we move further and further into the future is we're going to be able to utilize AI more as that health assistant. Is that in the realm of possibility to somewhat pair with this device that you're rolling out?
It's a done deal. It's been a 25-year project to make this thing. I mean, this device used to be the size of an MRI machine.
Wow.
So in the past 4 years, us in the company were only made aware of it in the past year. So yes, we've been working with full power AI, which is attached to MIT for machine learning and AI infused into the CRM. So yes, it will absolutely make recommendations of clinically validated nutritional protocols to improve the metrics that we're measuring. And then there's other sensors, lasers in the device, and it's I mean, MIT's jaw hit the floor when they said you have 26 million data points. It's one of the largest biomarker studies in the world. So now the device is learning how to take 25 other nutrient biomarkers, and we'll be able to upload that with genetic testing and GI mapping or GI testing into one app that's secure, that doesn't share the information with anyone else, and it can make those recommendations. So both, people are going to be able to do that on their own,
Yeah.
have that AI power from a nutritional standpoint, from a wellness standpoint, because we can't make disease claims due to federal litigation over 100 years ago. Only pharmaceuticals and surgeries can cure or prevent disease. The modern government and healthcare system does not recognize nutrition as treatment, diagnostic, or prevention of any single disease ever, which is insane. And that's, it's just the messed up system. But now we can position it as wellness, and it can make these recommendations to correct deficiencies and based on your genetics or your GI testing. And that's what's coming down the pipeline that no one knows is coming. Only a few thousand people in the world know that this is coming. Um, there's only 5,000 devices currently in the world, and now it's going to be easy, accessible. I can't wait for the next year because I'm also going to teach more of these virtual practitioners that they can sell someone this device and track their nutritional and genetic and GI mapping remote. You can send them the lab,
Wow.
and that's insane, and you can continue to test yourself and track at home before running off to a lab and getting a blood draw. Blood draws are just measuring inflammatory markers, organ stress markers, and signs of infection. Half of our minerals live inside of our cells. There's a balancing equation like sodium and potassium, calcium, magnesium, copper, and zinc. So to have a critical potassium measurement, it's not a true intracellular measurement, which is you're missing out on half the things. So I mean, in surgery we have to give potassium all the time for cardiac stuff, and but no one talks about potassium outside of surgery, even though it's one of the most deficient minerals in the entire nation. And it impacts everything from kidney function to cardiac disease, the muscle cramps. Everyone talks about magnesium all day long. There's not a single mention of potassium.
You, in a video on your Instagram, I saw you had mentioned that potassium comes from the ash that used to be in fire, and then you would put it in the garden, pot, ash, yum.
Yeah, that's how it got its name. Yeah,
That's how it,
it's potash. They used to make glass, soap, all kinds of things from it.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, exactly spot on. It was everyone used to burn the ash, and like goats and dogs will roll around in the ash, or goats will eat the ash from a fire because they have Mother Nature, God's intelligent design to, hey, there's minerals in there that I need. And that's humans have this same power and function, but we're also hijacked, just like with processed food. It hijacks
Mhm.
how full we feel. It's like makes addiction. So we're our natural inputs from Mother Nature are thrown off. So we don't understand where our cravings really are. And just like so many people crave chocolate, well, it's got a lot of good copper in it, which a lot of people are really deficient in too.
It when you mention the spiritual disconnection of today's society, that's everything.
Yeah,
And like you're saying, what you when you see a goat eating the ash, that's instinct. That's pure instinct. That's generations of finding a way to survive and then thrive, right?
it's collective intelligence of the microbiome
Okay.
of the body and the
Yeah.
collective consciousness in the ether where all of thought and idea come from. Because just like being around more intelligent people or more productive people in the co-working space, when you're around those people, your performance increases, your intelligence increases, your microbiome's the same. The more diverse and healthy it truly is, then your mood improves, your absorption improves, your ability to manage stress improves, all of it. So it's macro and micro. You can never say separate the mind from our thought process and from your belief process and from nutrition. It all kind of works together always. We can't say one's more important than the other. The number one thing I say with people when I start to work with them is, do you believe that you can restore your natural health? Do you believe you can improve from where you're at? Because it starts here. It's not, thought isn't just a thought. It's biochemical, it's instructions, it's inputs. And that's all we're really talking about with inputs is its frequency, thought, nutrition. Those are all inputs in real time. That's not fuel. We don't just burn through things. They actually interact and become part of our cell, and their energy can't be created nor destroyed. So we're just converting these things into part of this beautiful bioelectric magnetic, you know, machine that is the human body that drives our consciousness. Our consciousness is the real thing, and it lives outside of the body. So you have to understand that this body is more intelligent than we'll ever understand, but it's constantly being hijacked by frequency, by energy, weather mod, poisons, toxins, misinformation, the media. It's a constant spiritual warfare. And that's what it's about. Same thing with vaccines. Where Rudolf Steiner over 100 years ago wrote that over 100 years ago, medicine will turn into a place where we disconnect the body from the soul by vaccination.
Yeah.
You're disconnecting your ability to think and perform, and you're connected to God, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter to me.
Right.
But that, you know, it's spiritual warfare 101. And
That's
doesn't
heavy.
matter what spirituality you believe in, what do you want to call it? I
Yeah.
think it all boils down to three simple things. And that's to unlearn fear that's conditioned by society and others, to learn how to love yourself, and then to learn how to love others more.
That was kind of the core of rhythmia and ayahuasca in Costa Rica was fear does not exist. Fear isn't a real thing. It's something that you make up in your mind. In your mind, as you said, is so powerful. With all the studies that you do with your product and relating to the supplements that you will recommend to some of your patients, do you ever factor in the placebo effect? And it's a real thing. What would you say the percentage of like the placebo effect is comparative to the actual supplement itself? Because again, you're mentioning it totally. It's all about faith and believing.
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, people don't understand. And here's the metaphor or example is Wim Hof. Everyone knows Wim Hof. Scandinavian mailman that had tragic loss of his family and got into breathing that he learned from monks. He can sit in below freezing cold water for over 2 hours.
I've seen the videos.
Right.
Yeah,
So my question is, do you possess that ability? Do I possess that ability?
I would say we do actually.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
do, but we don't put the work in. We don't disconnect from media, from all these negative inputs to be able to do it. And that's what monks do, right? They're removed from society and they can go inward and work on these amazing feats of mind and body. We all possess that potential, but it's the few of us that start to question the narrative that's fed to us from before birth, from lineage, right? You
Mhm.
have nutrient deficiencies, mineral, vitamin deficiencies that are passed down from generations that affect you and you don't even realize it. Same thing with the conditioning from media. Trust the medical system. This whole thing is passed down. Trust the agricultural system. It's all passed down when you have to decide for yourself your own health sovereignty. So, yes, belief is everything, but it's a sliding scale, right? You have to meet people at their pain. That's what real science, real philosophy, real spirituality is, real parenting is how do you teach someone with compassion? Like my grandparents did. They didn't teach me that I was wrong about anything. They wanted to know why I thought what I thought, and then they shared why they thought what they thought. They taught me how to think, not fall in line and obey. So there's a big difference there. And to answer your question, yeah, you have to talk about that with people at some point. So most people are just like, give me the thing. What do I do? And they're looking for that external validation.
Right.
Really, I'm teaching people internal validation through nutrition because when we harmonize the cells, when we give the body more of the right inputs, it helps you process emotional shift and stress to manage that radical ownership where you're not taking ownership of in your own life. You're not a victim. You can never heal in the same environment that you got sick or dis-ease, out of alignment, out of harmony, out of homeostasis. And so you have to return to a natural state. And the natural state is without fear, it's without toxins, and it's with enough of nature's love, which is nutrition, inside your body. So it just depends on where that person's at mentally, spiritually, and their education level. I may be talking to a PhD or MD. I may be talking to an average person and everything in between.
And you mentioned the body's designed uh, with natural deficiencies at birth, and then kind of it comes along correctly. I just immediately thought of the vitamin K shot that they tried to give my son, my firstborn, like right away in the hospital, and I
Yep.
fought it like hell. And I forget exactly what they tried to leverage against me saying no. It had something to do with staying a little bit longer, or maybe not doing a specific practice on my son because I didn't do the shot right away. And after about 2 or 3 days, I finally broke down and said, fine, give him the shot.
Mm.
Because at that time, I grew up, a little bit about me. I grew up with a very holistic mother. I had one shot my whole entire life, and it was a tetanus shot. That's it.
Yeah.
And my firstborn son, my thought is, no shots. And then they, I never did enough research going into it. I was 23 at the time. Um, I had no idea what I was doing, and I think a lot of the industry takes advantage of that and fear mongers.
No doctor is trained on any vaccine, just like they don't have any nutritional training in school. Well, it's not their fault, it's the system's fault, right?
Yeah,
They're taught to be the person of authority. And even the nurses, they're taught, hey, if someone looks like they're hesitant about vaccines, double them up, give them more of the vaccines before they leave the hospital. You got to get them in because unfortunately, you know, healthcare is the largest economy in the US. There's more hospitals being built. There's more aspects of healthcare, insurance reimbursement. The most profitable thing in the entire US economy is a sick child because a lifetime of treatments, medications, procedures. And the second most profitable thing is a sick human, a sick adult for the same reasons. So, no doctor, if you ask them, I haven't met a single doctor that could tell me the ingredients of any one vaccine, including that K shot.
yeah,
All the adjuvants and they can't. They've never read the insert, and in school they're taught. And these are in documentaries of the doctors that actually were truth seekers and looking for it. They're not taught about how it's made. They're not taught about side effects. Your legal consent that no one gives is telling you what the possibilities of harm to you or your child are and telling you what the alternative therapies are. That's legal consent that no one gives. And people don't understand that in 1986, there were only three vaccines on the schedule. They were causing so much harm and they were bankrupting the vaccine manufacturers because of so many lawsuits that in 1986, all vaccines and future vaccines were given legal immunity. Now, there is a separate court system that's very hard to get a case in, but you can't sue the manufacturer for harms. It's one of the only products in the world that is immune. The only thing that's guaranteed immunity is legal immunity. Because normally any disease you're looking at in a vaccine is the first side effect is the disease itself. And there is no legal guarantee that you're getting any kind of protection from anything. They're filled with neurotoxins and SV40 and, monkey cells and pig corona cells and all kinds of stuff that people have no idea about because it's buried, but it is accessible. And even in the CDC website, the I love the huge shift that's happening in politics right now. I'm not political, but for the first time, health is becoming front and center. And politicians are selected. They're not by the human, by the population, by the couple hundred families that rule everything.
yeah,
So it's there's a more sinister thing going on. It's a smoke and mirrors. Let's look at dyes and we're removing that. It's great. We're removing mercury, but there's all these frequency things that are hijacking us. There's a self-replicating, mRNA stuff that's out there now. It's crazy and it scares most people, and it should, but it doesn't mean that you should live in fear of it. When you learn how to harmonize your body, your thought, you become more resilient. There's nothing better than natural immunity. So to go back to your vitamin K, no animal gets a vitamin K shot. If you're a breastfeeding human, then mother is giving baby everything it needs. They're worried about bleeding because it's taught from CYA. Like I worked in surgery for 20 years. The surgical consent is a huge stack of papers. It's a whole bunch of jargon, just like the doctors are taught to ignore the vaccine inserts when administering. It's a whole bunch of legal jargon.
This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the I just made a post today about American Academy of Pediatrics is pushing for a ban of all medical and religious exemptions on vaccines. They want to take your freedom away of choice and autonomy over yourself and over your child. That's insane.
That is insane. What say that one more time, the first part. Who's proposing this?
American Academy of Pediatrics
Okay.
has just issued that they would like to ban all medical and religious exemptions for vaccines.
Wow.
So
And
what's next? Do you hold someone down and stab them? You know?
yeah, yeah, that's so out of bounds.
Yeah.
The
Homeschool your kids and move to a state like Texas or some
right.
of the other states that allow that. And that's really what you have to do is more education. So it's interesting to see that it's actually a political conversation right now, but always because there's something more sinister going on. It's all
Well,
about population control.
yeah, I had and I still have a lot of hope for what RFK was running on, and I understand 100% that it probably isn't pure intention whatsoever. But overall, this I feel like it is a little bit of a small win to get the dyes out of the food for one, and all the cereals and all that junk. But what it really does come down to is like what you're saying is being aware. But I think about all the kids out there that have parents that work all the time that just don't have time to invest themselves into these topics, and they just go what the status quo is. And all those kids that are in those situations, and it's not the parents' fault because they're just trying to live life, is they're being exposed to it on a really really high level.
Yeah.
So for me personally, it was a big win in that way, even though I completely understand that it's not exactly what it's being sold as. Actually, today I just saw Triple H is named the head of Triple H from the WWE was named to the head of some sort of health committee,
Oh, wow.
to get young people into shape again.
That's
He
funny.
he he literally just had a press conference with Trump about 20 minutes ago.
I love it. Can't make this stuff up. Pro wrestlers,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
and Linda McMahon is the head of the Department of Education. So I mean,
it's all a circus show, and that's why the best thing you could do is turn off the news, turn off the
yes.
media,
Yeah.
and so diet. What does
Diet.
that word actually mean? The etymology, when we go back to Latin and Hebrew pictographs, some of the oldest written languages that we have that are available to the public anyway, these pictures mean different things, and we put all these pictures together, it gives you a definition of a word. So it literally reads out the definition of diet, reads out way of life. I have a plan. Everything that I assimilate that makes me breathe easier, restrict all else, and then my purpose is found. That's the etymology, the meaning of the word diet. So
Wow.
it is far more than the food we're putting into our bodies, the water and air we drink and breathe. It is also our internal dialogue. It is also the conversations we participate in, the media we watch and consume, the music lyrics we listen to and consume. Restrict what does not serve you. And everyone wants to argue over the nutritional diet where it's very unethical for me to tell anyone that they should eat meat or not eat meat because I don't know if you have Asian or Indian DNA that came from lineages of not having high meat consumption or the opposite. You might have had really high meat consumption. Either way, there's no arguing that every single human on the planet, no matter where you come from, your religious belief or your nutritionary preferences, are minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, protein, fiber, and fat. Everyone needs those six things. There's a million ways to get them. It's my job to make sure that you're getting them in a way that works with your biology. That's it. So I can't stand the constant arguing over keto, carnivore, vegetarian, vegan. It's great. Different things work for different people. Different diets, by definition of the word we just described, mean different things for different people. My diet's different than yours.
Yeah. That's I've never heard that before. That's really interesting to me. And it makes a lot of sense because you're right. It doesn't just come down to what the trend is, it comes down to what works for you.
Yeah.
What's your take on fasting? Do you do fasting?
Yeah. I've done it all. Psychedelics, drinking my own urine, fasting. It's amazing. Yeah. Every religion throughout all of history has taught fasting.
Yeah. And
For a reason. You're helping get rid of the cells that aren't performing as well, giving your liver and your digestive system a break because they're constantly doing something. You weren't designed to have the convenience of food 24/7. Every human went through periods of foraging food, having to work to create that food, not just run over to a store and grab some processed food that's filled with more chemicals than actual food. You know, fasting's super important. Um, and it changes and it's different for women and different for men. It's kind of like keto. Like not everyone can just get into ketosis with a keto diet really easily.
yeah,
Just like not everyone can run a marathon, right? Some people are more designed to, it's easier for them, or some people are more designed for like strength training or explosive movement.
yeah,
Uh, and it's just, that's a genetic and a mental thing. So everyone has the ability, just like Wim Hof, to get sit in that freezing cold water. Everyone has the ability to run a marathon. Everyone has the ability to get into ketosis, but some people might take them a lot longer for their body to learn that pathway. And some people it's just harder for them. So it's not the answer for everyone. You can't just say that works for you. Some people do far better on a raw vegan diet for a little bit, which is a different pathway, similar to keto though.
yeah.
Like I mean, there's whole healing institutions that have been written for decades about that. It's like giving your body a break, and it's not as complicated as it sounds. Once you learn about all these different systems, these different modalities, these different ways of thinking, these different diets, you understand that it's here's how the body works. I mean, we used to have one doctor. One doctor did everything, delivered the babies,
Yeah.
a broken leg, worked on an infection, did everything, worked
Would
on
come
the
over to the house.
yeah.
Yeah.
And systematically, that's been removed and segmented into a specialist for every square inch of the body. Every organ in the body has
It's
a specialist.
crazy.
Every type of surgery has a specialist. And it's the fundamental misunderstanding that the body is a system. It's a system of inputs. From a nutritional standpoint, those minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, protein, fibers, and fats. From a psychosocial input, what's being fed to your mind, what are you absorbing through your ears and eyes, the energies that you cannot see. It's so funny that people believe in Wi-Fi but don't believe in the effects of EMF and 5G, but
Yeah.
your
Right.
body has natural systems to mitigate all those things. Um, I mean, baking soda has been around for 120 years. A quarter teaspoon changes people's lives a day. Increasing simple things like vitamin E and C that everyone is deficient in helps you mitigate Wi-Fi. When I fly on a plane, I have more vitamin C, more magnesium. Um, there's just so much fundamental misunderstanding of nature and how we're forever attached to it.
We have roughly about 5 minutes left, and before we end, I do want to ask you one quick question when you mentioned baking soda.
Yeah,
Baking, so your normal Arm& and Hammer baking soda is not maybe what you're recommending because that it's is there aluminum in it or some sort of preservative? Is there a specific type of baking soda that you would recommend, or am I completely wrong?
Arm& and Hammer is completely fine.
Okay. Okay.
Baking powder has aluminum in it.
That's
Arm,
what it is.
yeah,
Okay.
baking, which is very different. That don't recommend that in any way. Baking
Sure.
soda has been made the same way for over 100 years. Now, also again, clever marketing,
Yeah.
saying aluminum free, but it's all aluminum free. Like
Okay.
they're kind of like creatine. Like it's pretty hard to mess up creatine and how you make creatine. Like you can market it and fluff it up a million different ways, but it's the same thing with like what form of magnesium. Well, people get really caught up when the body's amazing and will change it to what it needs to. Period.
Right.
And like, yes, you can get into the nuance of it, but like stop diving in that echo chamber and zoom out and realize that your body needs far more than just magnesium. We haven't added essential nutrients for decades because if we did, then people would run out and go get them and they'd start to be healthier.
Right. You don't want that.
No,
No.
it's not good for.
That's not what we want. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today. Why don't, and I would like to continue to have this conversation. I know you have some stuff planned. If you could you maybe plug your company, your Instagram, or any other projects that you may have going?
Yeah, love it. And thank you. I'm on Instagram at _holistic_hub. Um, Website is theholistichub.org and partnered with Get Healthy USA. Prism will be launched soon. If you want more information on that, reach out. If you're a coach, a provider of any kind, we train you every step of the way how to utilize these things. But we need more. We need help. We need community. There's only 5,000 of these things around, so we need more people to get the word out about this stuff. And it's creating financial sovereignty and health sovereignty for millions of people.
That's wonderful. And I'll put all that in the description as well for anybody listening. And if if anybody has any trouble getting a hold of Ryan, please let me know and I can try to connect the two of you as well. So thank you again for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great. I love what you're doing. You're a wealth of knowledge in your own right, and it takes more people speaking up. That was the last thing that I learned to do. I never wanted to be in front of the camera at all. I had a lot on my heart and a lot in my head, and I had to connect that, and it was opening my throat to speak. I think we're all supposed to be here to create something, whether that's podcasts to create more awareness and education, better health systems, a better family, or better financial awareness with crypto and these other things. Get out there and create, whether that's art, music, good food. That's what we're here to do. And I appreciate you letting me come on here and create this conversation with you.
Of course. Thanks again.
Thanks.